Our next speaker is a businessman, author, and former mayor of, forgive me if I don't, Pagoda, New Jersey, where he served from 1995 to 2007. He was the state director of the New Jersey chapter of Americans for Prosperity and a candidate for the Republican nomination for governor of New Jersey in both 2005 and 2009. He was the Republican Party's nominee in the October 2013 special election to fill New Jersey's open U.S. Senate seat following the death of Frank Lautenberg. He currently serves as a director of monetary policy for American Principles Project, which, by the way, was one of our sponsors, and we thank them very much for their support. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Iowa welcome to Steve Lonegan.
It's great to be here from the People's Republic of New Jersey. I gotta congratulate Professor Culvis. He ran for the U.S. Senate like I did, and he ended up having to buy his wife a car. I gotta get his notes because I had to buy my wife a short house. I live right by a little town called Lodi. You might remember it from one of our great exports from New Jersey, the Sopranos series. In fact, the Sopranos filmed one of their episodes on my football field in Pagoda. In return for it, I got a Grandma Sopranos cookbook. After going through 7 attorneys and filing legal documents to ensure it wasn't a kickback, my wife has yet to make one recipe from that cookbook. The short house I bought is right down by Seaside Heights. That's the scene of the Jersey Shore, Smokey and those guys. So I'm really living the life between the Sopranos and the Jersey Shore. But it's great to be in Iowa, and I want to tell you about my background before I tell you about a project. When I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. Retinitis pigmentosa is a deteriorating eye condition of the retina that leads to blindness. So from where I'm standing right now, I cannot see a single one of you. If you want to flip me the bird, go ahead. New Jersey, we're used to that. I remember sitting in the doctor's chair at 14 with my mom and dad, and the doctor telling me your son's going to lose his eyesight by the age of 30. Let me tell you, my parents were crushed. But when you sit there at 14 years old, the age of 30 is light years away. When you're 58 years old, the age of 30 is light years away too. But years later, when I was much older, I asked my mom about that episode, and they went into another room that they said, what's going to happen to our son? They said he'll be weaving baskets by the age of 20, 25. Great bedside manner. Like all good parents, my parents took me to every eye institute in the country they could find, Massachusetts, Johns Hopkins, but there's no cure for this condition. I shared with people like Steve Wynn and others. And life went on. Came home one day when I was 16 years old, and my dad had died at work very suddenly. So my mom lost her house, and we moved in with my grandparents. My grandparents were Italian immigrants. I want to talk about the American dream, about immigrants who come to this country seeking a better future for the next generation after, and work hard and sacrifice to provide that dream. I'm here today, folks, because the American dream is dead. My grandparents were Italian immigrants, and I had the blessing of moving into this home of these hardworking people who spoke Italian. I was never allowed to learn to speak Italian. I think my grandfather said, English is the language of this country. That's what we speak outside this house, and I think they wanted to be able to talk about me without me knowing what they were saying. When we moved in with my grandparents, I never heard, nobody ever brought up the idea of a subsidy or, what are we going to do? Mrs. Lonegan should get rent subsidies or help. We just did what we had to do. And I learned that hard working ethic of immigrants that built this country. And life went on, and I went to college. Thanks to the hard work and savings of my grandparents, we had a house to live in, and I went to school, and I came out of, by the time I came out of college, I had lost almost all of my vision. I couldn't drive and I couldn't read. And I became a client of the New Jersey Commission for the Blind and a Social Security disability recipient. And all of my friends were going off to work and to build businesses and to get married, and I was on disability. And it was pretty discouraging, and the counselor at the commission said, well, why don't you get a master's degree? And I said, that's a good idea. Education is a great idea. They wanted me to get a master's degree in social work. And I said, no, I want to get a master's degree in business. They were like, business, yeah. But that's what I want to do. I want to make money. So I got an MBA in record time. And I came out of school with my MBA in hand, and I was ready to go to work, and I went to interview after interview, IBM, Xerox, all the big companies, and there's this ADA stuff going on and regulations, and basically if you were a handicapped person walking into a company, if they had filled their quota, they didn't need another one, no matter how good you were, all the legal issues and whatnot. I couldn't get a job. I went through a couple of years of this, and it was very, very discouraging. So finally I called on my counselor, and I remember her sitting in my mom's living room one day, and I'm with my girlfriend, and I like my friends, I wanted to get married and start a life, but I'm not one for marrying if you can't support your family. So I'm sitting in there with this counselor, and the counselor said, well, Steve, what are you worried about? You have your Social Security disability, we can get you food stamps, we can get you rent subsidies to live with your mother, and we can send you back for vocational training. Vocational training is like assembling toasters and making pot holders. I had an MBA. That would be the worst day of my life. I mean, I could feel the cold hands of government just closing in around me, and hopelessness. But at the same, I was reading a book on tape at the same time. It was a biography of John Paul Getty, autobiography of John Paul Getty, the oil drilling maverick, and he had gone broke a number of times. And in his book he writes, and he'd taken this actually from a sermon by Martin Luther King. If you have to push a broom to make a living, be the best in the world at pushing the broom. So I decided how to lower my sights, and I wasn't going to be getting that mid-level management position at IBM with my MBA. I would do whatever I could. So I asked my girlfriend, I'll take anything I can get. So we look in the paper, and she finds this job. It says, sell kitchen cabinets, $, $, $. No college degree required. I said, I like the $ signs. So I went to the interview for this position, and I spoke to this gentleman, Mr. Randolph, and he had a bunch of really brunchy kitchen cabinet showrooms in New Jersey. It was 1981, and I could see he had his doubts. So I said, Mr. Randolph, give me a shot at this. Look, I'll come to work for you for 2 weeks for free, and I'll show you what I can do. And if no downside, big companies can't do this. Small companies can. So he said, okay. And I took the price book home with these little tiny numbers, and my mom and my girlfriend made them into big numbers so I could read them. And I went into work the first day, and I went to my hour-long professional training program before I hit the showroom floor. And I can tell you this, if you came into that showroom in Springfield, New Jersey, in the next 2 weeks, you were not leaving alive without buying a kitchen from Steve Lonegan. I got the job and became the company's best salesman. It was 1981. A few months later, I got married. One of those things happened when people get married. My wife got pregnant. I was making some money. My wife's a Catholic school teacher. And the owner walks in a year later, and it was still, remember, those interest rates were 12%, 14%. Unemployment was still up there. Reagan's economics was still kicking in. And the owner walked in and he said, Steve, I'm going out of business. Contractors are kicking out like crazy. Builders are going under. But you're really good at this. Why don't you buy this? I owe you money. Why don't you buy this showroom from me? Little rinky-dink place on Route 17, Paramus, New Jersey, that I was managing. And start your own business. You don't have my overhead. You can do this. I got to tell you, I didn't know what to think. I was standing there going, what? And there's a great book by Sun Tzu called The Art of War. And Sun Tzu says, if you really want your troops to fight hard, put them between the enemy and their feet on the edge of a cliff. And I was on the edge of that cliff. So I had to borrow the money. So I went to the special bank for a loan, the Bank of Mom. And I borrowed the money to buy that business. And I walked into this business one day. It was 1982, and I had a business, and I didn't know what to do except work. I learned a lot of things they didn't teach in the MBA program, how to give the gas company the phone company check, and the phone company the gas company check, and just to... But somehow or other, things work. And the economy, remember the 80s got better. Under the great moderation of Paul Volcker and Ronald Reagan and Jack Kemp. And my business grew and grew and grew. By 1988, I become the largest kitchen cabinet dealer in the tri-state area, employed over 100 people. Turned my company into one of the most successful small businesses in the state of New Jersey, expanded into real estate, commercial buildings, and went on to become pretty darn successful. And 1995, I was elected mayor of the town of Pagoda. 3-2 to 1 Democrat town where I governed based on the principles I believed in for 12 years. and then had the honor last year of the Republican Party nomination in a special U.S. Senate race against Cory Booker. Did not quite turn out the way I hoped. I've lived the American dream in many, many ways. But as I had said earlier, the American dream is dead. You see, if what had happened to me was happening today, I would never have succeeded. That cold hand of government would have wrapped itself right around me. I wouldn't have the family I have today. It would be the same for so many others. The American dream, we can across the board say, whether you're Republicans or Democrats agree, labor union leaders, business people, that the American dream, that concept, that one generation does better than the next, that the work and hard work and savings of one generation will benefit the next, and in each step we do better and better and better, is over. And it's been over for 40 years. Why? Because one very simple solution, folks, I've been involved in the conservative movement for a long time. I first attended CPAC back in the 1970s, the 1980s, the 1990s. I have heard speech after speech and speech after convention and conference from Republicans and conservatives and libertarians about government is getting bigger. And government is getting bigger. We're going to do something about it. They've been saying it now for 40 years. It hasn't changed. It's getting kind of boring. Because it's bigger than ever, and it's worse than ever. It's crushing the American dream, and it's a very simple reason. There's one thing that is behind everything you've spoken about today, and that's the massive growth of government, is that the distraction of the American dollar, the value of our currency. This money that I'm holding in my hand, this little piece of paper, that is what we use to measure trade, what we use to measure the value of our savings, what we use to measure our success in life, is now controlled by others and has been for the last 40 years. This little piece of paper that I'm holding up before you, that not many long ago, for people in this room, not long ago, you remember this little piece of paper, a dollar bill, has a nice picture of George Washington, or as Alexander Hamilton, or Jackson, or whatever. Across the top used to say silver certificate, or gold certificate. Today it says Federal Reserve note. 40 years ago, you could walk into a bank with this piece of paper, your dollar bill, and you can get a $1 real silver dollar piece, silver coin, real thing. You could redeem your money for real gold. It had real value, real tangible value that you could take with you anywhere you go. Nobody could take it from you, wherever you went. Now you can take your money in, and you can say to Mr. Banker, can I have my $20 worth of that subprime mortgage portfolio that you have in your vault? Because that's their reserve. Maybe my 20 bucks of that underwater house down in Detroit or out in New Jersey that nobody wants anymore. That's what's backing this dollar bill, folks. In the history of mankind, no government, no civilization has survived the debasing of the currency. On August 15th, 1971, President Richard Nixon, let's think about who this is. This is the guy who left office because nobody could trust him. President Richard Nixon announced that he was ending the gold standard for America. We talk about executive orders. You talk about unilateral decision-making by Obama. We are trusting the most important decision regarding our nation's money in the history of our country to Richard Nixon's decision. He said he would end the gold standard temporarily, while he got things in order. You know what else he also said? Oh, you gotta love this. He said the dollar tomorrow will be worth as much as it is today. This dollar is worth 15 cents of what it was on August 15th, 1971. We now have money in this country that's worth only what you think it is, only what we believe it is worth, and only what the rest of the world believes it's worth. That's all it is. Nothing but perception, no true value. And many people in this country are waking up to this. After my race against Cory Booker last year, I wanted to just read a book. And so I pulled this book off the shelf randomly, Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. The story of the collapse of French society, the French Revolution, and the social upheaval that came with it. I'm reading this book and I get to chapter 4, and in one sentence, Dickens describes exactly what caused the social upheaval that led to the Reign of Terror. He writes, France had engaged in the printing of money and spending, in debasing the French franc, destroying the French government itself. The German Deutschmark collapsed in the early part of the century, leading to world wars. The Hungarian money collapsed. In Zimbabwe, not too long ago, remember Zimbabwe, those people used to come around with $1 trillion notes to advance, they were real. Zimbabwe had a great economy in the 1980s until they started debasing their money. But in every one of these cases in recent history, where money has collapsed, they had something to fall back on, the American dollar. In the first 180 years of America's history, we had a dollar backed by gold. We had silver coins. It's only been the last 40 years that we've decoupled our money and tried to get away with this fiat currency paper money scheme, which is what it is. In the 40 years prior to the ending of the gold standard by Richard Nixon, the average GDP growth in this country was 4.5%, the average unemployment was 4.7%. In the 40 years since the ending of the gold standard, the average GDP growth has been 3.5%. 1% doesn't matter. But over 43 years, that's a difference of 50% in the growth rate of our economy. Like Steve Forbes says, if we had stayed on a gold standard, our economy today would be 50% greater than it is right, $8 trillion wealthier. The unemployment rate over the last 43 years has now averaged 6%. Has not dropped under 6% since Barack Obama's been president. We've accepted this mediocrity as the new norm. But the worst is this. And at the cornerstone of free market capitalism is the ability and the concept of people working hard and saving through frugality and thrift. And then when you accumulate those savings is the deferment of today's happiness for the future security. You save your money and then you invest it into the means of production, into growing businesses. And if you don't do it directly yourself, if you don't lend it to your kids to build a business, you build your own business, you put it in a bank, and the bank pays you a fair interest rate and they lend it. And you sort of split it with them. Savers today who walk into a bank and have put money in the bank, maybe you've saved that iconic amount of $1 million, right? That's going to be still a big American number. I mean, I grew up in an era when if you had $1 million, you could conquer the world. You have $1 million in the safe CD today, your interest rate's about $11,000 a year. That's not enough money to pay your rent in most places. Far from it. What we've done is we have relegated savers to obsolescence. We have made a mockery of thrift, and we've made frugality eccentricity. My kids look at me making a pot of coffee, putting the leftover in the refrigerator, and they laugh at that kind of thing. They don't understand frugality any longer. Most people don't. It's become a thing that that's our parents grew up in depression. They don't know. That's how you learn to work hard and save. Why should a bank pay you an interest rate if they can just get money for nothing by printing it out of thin air? The Federal Reserve Bank prints money at the rate of about $85 billion out of nothing. They don't even print it. You don't even get the value of the paper. They make a digital entry into a bank's bank account. And here's how they do it, in case you don't understand. The Bank of America, Chase Bank, some big bank, they accumulate a big portfolio of mortgages. They call them mortgage-backed securities. And they lend all this money. They then turn around and sell the mortgage-backed securities to the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve buys it by simply producing money from nothing. The United States government needs to borrow money to pay its debt, which is where we're at. The Federal Reserve Bank just prints money out of nowhere, growing the money supply and debasing the value of the American dollar. And they don't know how to stop. The Federal Reserve Bank does not know how to stop. And they don't have a solution. Remember, they want you to think they do, that these are the people in 2006 told us the economy was going to be great, full steam ahead, we were living in this Goldilocks economy, had a wonderful future, nothing to worry about, crash. Where were they in the year before 2007? If you want to understand what has happened to the Federal Reserve Bank, which was established in 2013, interestingly enough, to run the gold standard. That was their job. It was the Federal Reserve. Their reserve was gold. Today, they're neither federal nor do they have any reserves. Between the years 1913 and 2007, the day Lehman Brothers collapsed, the Federal Reserve System has gone out and bought assets, like I told you about, the type of things, mortgage-backed securities, the Federal Treasury bonds, totaling $900 billion. It took them 93 years to accumulate $900 billion in assets to their balance sheet by making money out of nothing. And in the 3 weeks that followed the collapse of Lehman Brothers, when Bernanke saw that AIG was going down, The Federal Reserve Bank's balance sheet exploded to $2.3 trillion. They printed $1.4 trillion out of nothing to bail out the big banks. Today, only 7 years later, the Federal Reserve balance sheet stands at $4.1 trillion. Those are those assets that they bought at face value that back your money. There was a time in American history when people very much understood what this meant, what I'm holding in my hand, and they fought hard over it. They fought really hard over it. The founding fathers hated paper money. They hated it so much, they despised it so much, that the United States Constitution, Section 1, Article 8 states very, very clearly that only Congress can coin money and establish its value. Congress has abdicated its responsibility, and not one man in a million understands it. And if you don't think Americans can understand the battle over money, only need to look back at the presidential campaigns of 1896, 1900, 1904, William Jennings Bryan, when the battle wasn't over paper money, it was whether or not we should allow silver coins, silver coinage. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, that historic, monumental American story, was a metaphor on the gold standard. Oz being an ounce of gold, the city of Oz being Washington, the wizard being the president, the yellow brick road being the gold standard, Dorothy being the average American. In the original book by Frank Baum, Dorothy's slippers are silver, not red. It was a total metaphor on the gold standard. That's how critical the battle over understanding currency was. The Federal Reserve Bank and politicians will tell you that Americans don't get it. It's too complicated. Oh, we get it very, very well. In the last 7 years, the median household income of Americans has dropped 8%. That's the middle class by definition. 8%. In the 8 years prior to the 1971 debasing of our currency by Richard Nixon, the median household income increased 6.3%. That's a swing of 14.3% for similar periods of time. Americans do much, much better, but as we relegate savers to obscurity and we make a mockery of the American dollar, the American dream is dead. And that's going to impact us in many, many, many ways. I'm asking you here to take the time to do what they say Americans no longer do, and that is learn and understand. They actually have the audacity to tell you that Americans don't get it. I talked to congressmen about what are we going to do about it, at least putting rules on the Fed. At least say, hey, you're not allowed to just print money, and they don't want to take them on. Let me tell you why. Because if you're a neocon Republican who wants more military spending, you like the Fed. If you're a liberal Democrat who wants another welfare program, you like the Fed. The middle class is getting squeezed. The wage stagnation that we're existing today and the rising cost of living is crushing the middle class, and the middle class is fundamental to the future of this nation. It is the single most important issue facing us today. I'm not here to predict that the American dollar is going to collapse. There's no empirical evidence to show that could happen, but in the course of world history, it's always happened, paper money. It's so funny because politicians love to get up and make speeches like, well, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Happened every single time, bar none. There's no reason why we think we should be above the rules of nature. The things that you can do when you leave here today is please don't forget the message we're carrying. Our website is fixthedollar.com. I will be in Iowa a lot. I will be in New Hampshire. I will be in South Carolina. You might see a pattern here. We are going to require, you need to require, that these presidential candidates who want to govern this country have the guts to stand on this issue, both Democrat and Republican. This issue cuts across party lines. If you're a labor union guy, your pension is not keeping up with the cost of living, your union wage increases are far below cost of living increases. Why? Because the value of the dollar is being destroyed. If you're a wealthy person with a nice big portfolio, yeah, you're doing great. The stock market's all pumped up for now. But without the middle class and without equitable prosperity, where everyone from the poor to the middle to the wealthy can grow and prosper, the American dream is dead. And we need to restore it. And that's why I'm here today. I hope you will take the time to get onto talk radio shows like Jan's program and others that I'm going to be on Monday. It's very important to wake America up to this. I do not believe for 1 minute that Americans are no longer going to pay attention to their money. The founding fathers were clear about it. We've had presidential elections over, we're going to do it again. So I will hope you'll join this effort. Hope you'll sign up for our newsletter. Because if in the course of my lifetime I can work to reestablish a gold standard and restore American prosperity so that others can benefit the way I have, I will be blessed. So thank you, and thank you for having me.